I'm just really going to focus on serenity and flight. And that's how you do it.
Right, with the water.
The power of the mind! Ow!
Ow, fuck! No! No! Do not hurt father! This is certainly a fun toy. It will break everything in your mother's house. She will be very upset. The phrase, don't play ball in the house, will be replaced with, don't fly at things with your brain in the house.
This made me feel like a Zen master, and I really liked it.
That's really interesting to me. Like, it's sort of like this enforced meditation a little bit, which is cool.
If this is the kind of stuff that is already hitting the market, what kind of technology is still being developed in labs? What if I told you that we can literally read minds? That is, words and letters in your language, or even the visual pictures that you have in your head. What if I told you that soon you might be able to record memories and play them back later to help you remember, or even play them to someone completely different?
You put a bunch of electrodes directly on the brain itself. These people can type. These people can type very quickly simply by thinking about it. They think about a certain letter, a computer recognizes the pattern, and a computer will type in this way. Yet another way of probing into the brain itself is with an MRI scan. We can take the living brain, put it in an MRI, and get 30,000 dots, like a Christmas tree set of lights, that code the amount of electrical activity. You take these 30,000 dots, put it into a computer program that can then decipher it, and bingo, what you get is a picture of what they are thinking. We can now visualize what somebody is thinking about. In fact, it's on the web. There's a picture of Steve Martin, for example, in one of his movies, and then right next to it is a picture as viewed through the human mind. This is amazing. You can clearly recognize the eyes, the ears. You cannot recognize the fact that it's Steve Martin. However, you can also do giraffes, you can put elephants, and clearly you're looking at an animal and not a human. The internet, not just simple text messages. Think of it, teenagers are going to go crazy putting the memories of the senior prom, the memories of their first kiss on the brain net of the future. We can now do that with animals. We can actually record a memory. You train a mouse to do a certain thing. We record the impulses across the hippocampus, reinsert it back in when the mouse forgets a task, and the mouse remembers. We're going to have a brain pacemaker for Alzheimer's patients. People with memory problems will be able to push a brain pacemaker and remember. And now the Pentagon, just last week, announced a new initiative whereby GIs with brain injuries will be able to not only control mechanical arms and legs, but also have memory enhancement for those people injured in Iraq and Afghanistan. This is big.
Now, what's the actual technology that can remember a memory or record a memory?
So these kinds of technologies are pretty interesting, but let's steer in a different direction for a moment. One of the largest world problems we currently have is energy production. This will soon be solved. We are on the brink of major energy production revolutions. The efficiency of solar is increasing dramatically every year. Research for molten salt nuclear reactors is being funded. Nuclear fusion is finally about to happen. Mining expeditions to the moon are being planned to determine the viability of extracting helium-3 for fuel. Any single one of these could make energy hundreds or thousands of times more cheap and abundant. Take a look.
Rayton Solar has come up with a way to chip off an extraordinarily thin piece of pure silicon, not with a saw, but with a subatomic particle accelerator, an atom smasher. Well, it doesn't smash atoms as such. It smashes protons into the atoms of a chunk of silicon. Now, technicians can control the depth to which these particles penetrate with precision, so they can place the particles perfectly. And once the particles are perfectly in place, Rayton gives them a nudge using a little bit of heat of just the right magnitude, and a perfect super thin slice of pure silicon is set free. A little bit of pure silicon goes a long way. So Rayton can use the very purest silicon, which makes for a much more efficient conversion of light into electricity. Rayton then makes the silicon slices into solar panels in the conventional fashion. A smidgen of phosphorus and a dash of boron, and there we go. A perfect panel with 90% less pure silicon than the good old days, which are actually right now, and they're really not that good. With its patented technology, Rayton Solar is capable of making 100 times as many solar panels with the same amount of silicon as its competitors use to make just one panel. Rayton's technology can produce electricity that's clean and cheaper than electricity produced with greenhouse gas emitting fossil fuels.
It's 4 times more common in the Earth's crust than uranium. It's so energy dense that you can hold a lifetime supply of thorium energy in the palm of your hand. We could use thorium about 200 times more efficiently than we're using uranium now. Because the lifter is capable of almost completely releasing the energy in thorium, this reduces the waste generated over uranium by factors of hundreds and by factors of millions over fossil fuels. We're still going to need liquid fuels for vehicles and machinery, but we could generate these liquid fuels from the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and from water, much like nature does. We could generate hydrogen by splitting water and combining it with carbon harvested from CO2 in the atmosphere, making fuels like methanol, ammonia, and dimethyl ether, which could be a direct replacement for diesel fuels. Imagine carbon-neutral gasoline and diesel, sustainable and self-produced.
You can see that uranium-235 is like on par with silver and platinum. Can you imagine burning platinum for energy? And that's what we're doing with our nuclear energy sources today. We're burning this extremely rare stuff, and we're not burning thorium. You know, some people who are kind of environmentalists, and they say, listen, nuclear power is not sustainable. We're going to run out of uranium. Okay, I will yield that point to you if we're talking about today's nuclear technology.
In 2007, we used 5 billion tons of coal, 31 billion barrels of oil, and 5 trillion cubic meters of natural gas, along with 65,000 tons of uranium to produce the world's energy.
So I have a friend who's trying to start a rare earth mine in Missouri. Jim, how much thorium do you think you'll be pulling up a year? He goes, I think about 5,000 tons. 5,000 tons of thorium would supply the planet with all of its energy for a year. And he goes, and there's like a zillion other places on Earth that are just like my mine. It's a nice mine, but it's not unique. It's not like this is the one place on Earth where this is found.
China is seriously considering mining the moon, but not for anything so worthless as gold or platinum. No. For a rare isotope of helium called helium-3. Helium-3 is different from 99.999% of helium on Earth, helium-4. Helium-3's nucleus consists of 2 protons and 1 neutron, and it's theorized that it can be used for clean nuclear fusion. However, helium-3 hasn't been given much attention because it's extremely rare and expensive. Currently, helium-3 is sold for about $1,000 per gram, or $1 billion per metric ton. By comparison, at today's prices, platinum sells for a piddling $39.7 million per metric ton. Helium-3 may be rare here on Earth, but it's not on the moon, or at least not as much. Helium-3 is in the solar wind that gets deflected away by our magnetosphere. But the moon has no magnetic field, and so helium-3 has slowly been deposited on its surface over billions of years. While it's estimated the Earth only has 15 tons of the stuff total, the moon may have between 1 and 5 million tons. That still means that hundreds of millions of tons of lunar soil will have to be processed just to get 1 ton of helium-3. So, is all this just lunacy? Well, right now, pretty much, yeah. But China isn't planning on doing this right this second. It's all the dream of Ouyang Ziyuan of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, and he's shooting for the moon in the next 50 years, which is probably a good time frame because as of right now, even if we could mine and ship helium-3 from the moon on a large scale, we wouldn't be able to use it. Fusing helium-3 would require much more initial energy than fusing hydrogen isotopes, so while it may produce power without radioactive byproducts, it's still expensive and won't be used until the 2nd generation of fusion reactors. And keep in mind, we still haven't gotten to the 1st. But if helium-3 can be used, it will yield hundreds of times more energy than it costs to mine and ship. Only 40 tons of it can meet the US's energy demands for a year.
There are many other extremely revolutionary technologies arising in different fields such as nanotechnology and medicine, but in order to keep the video short and sweet, I'll wrap it up here.